Hello guys and welcome. We're back for the mutant skill rank or mutant class ranking. As you saw yesterday in the skill video. Hopefully you've watched all of them so far, and you'll continue watching until we get to the overall one. This was maybe one of the tougher ones in my opinion. Mutant, I think, is a really strong class. There's a lot of champs in there who just have so many different abilities. For example, Colossus didn't make the list, but he's so strong. The double immunity, the immunity to, or not double immunity, but he's not obviously not poison immune, but the bleed immunity is huge. The armor ups that he can do. Namor at Sig 200 is so strong. Havoc is a really strong champ. You know, there's so many champs in here. Storm with Weapon X as well. Just not been able to play Weapon X means he's probably not on this list, but yeah, really tricky one to do. However, I feel like I'll give it my best shot. I feel like, again, with the rest of them, these are top 10 champs in a massive class, so they are going to be interchangeable. I may have got one or two wrong in your opinion, but all our opinions differ, so if you disagree, do let me know in the comments below. We'll get straight onto it with number 10. In number 10, I have gone with Strife. I feel like Strife is maybe a little bit underrated in this game. I think the invisibility makes him a real annoyance to fight. I think he just not knowing when that's going to come or coming after the SP1 and lasting a bit of time can make him a really annoying defender. But not only that, him and Apocalypse as a synergy duo is so strong. You know, it just means that when you're questing, having Strife as your Apocalypse's horseman, that's the word, his horseman, then you can see that they can absolutely shred through questing. Strife is a really good questing champ. He might not be some people's absolute favourites for Battlegrounds, but I think this being a sort of a video for both questing and Battlegrounds, he does just make it onto the list. At number 10, bit of a tricky one because I've not really played with him too much, but I have fought him a lot and I've seen what other people have done with him. I do think he could go a little bit higher if I played with him, as I said in the last video with Shang-Chi, but still a really strong champ, and definitely deserves that number 10 spot. However, coming in at number 9, we've got Domino. So if this was a defender's list, in my opinion, she's the best defender in the game. I think she is, no one can deal with the critical failure or the damage that does. The fact that you need a tech champ means that she, you know, she's already, you know, you have to fight with one class, otherwise you will take a sustained amount of damage. In Battleground, she's massive because there's really no way of ending that fight with 100% health unless you regenerate. She'll always do damage to you. When you fight her, when you're fighting with her, if you get lucky, she is a bit of an RNG player, or an RNG champ, which is a bit different. So she can be a little bit, a bit annoying to fight, and maybe isn't one of the best for questing. However, her absolute defensive power means that she makes it in this top 10 for me. I think if you've got her, you rank her up, you sig her, or you awaken her just to get her in your Battlegrounds defense because she'll win you so many fights, and that alone I think makes her deserved of the top 9 or of the 9th place. But I do think also on offense she can be really useful. In at number 8 is someone who I have as a 6-star. It's probably why I won't find him down there. It's Professor X, as you can see. I feel like he could have gone a little bit higher. He could have gone 7-6. This is a sort of a separate tier in my opinion. This one and then the next two champs, they are interchangeable again. He is one of the only 6-stars that I've got ranked up who are sigged, which is ideal. The synergies that he has can be really useful if you've got other mutants in your clat or in your deck. I think the Falter is really helpful. He is, again, really different, as all of his attacks are energy attacks and none of them are really contact attacks. the damage that you can do while building it up, as you build him up and fight more and more, can be massive. You know, some people love him and think he's one of the probably top 3 champs in the class. For me, he's good, but you'll see as we get down the list, there are just champs for different reasons. I think he's okay on defense if people aren't used to fighting him with the falter. You know, if they miss or hit him into with the falter and he hits back, that's almost game over for them. However, he hasn't got the health to deal with being a constant, really strong defender. He does have the miss. The Cerebro charges mean that he does, or the channeling charges mean that he can also have a lot of utility in that sense. No one can evade him when he's above 25. He also can't be missed, or he can't miss, meaning he's also a miss counter to everyone who isn't a tech champ, which is really handy for your Ebony Mars and or even Kitty Prides. You know, if you're missing through that phase. I just think he's a really strong champ, building up those prowesses. The SP2 can do so much damage. He has a relatively difficult rotation or to get the hang of, but once you've got the whole hang of it, he is really strong. I do think he is. He could go a little bit higher if I was a bit of a better player with him. However, I just can't seem to click with him. So, you know, other champs have made it in this list above him. However, as I said, he could be somebody who goes up or down. Next on the list, we've got White Magneto. So you'll see that Red Magneto is 2 positions higher. So this White Magneto is 7th, but Red Magneto will be in 5th. I just think they have, they're both Magneto obviously, but they do have different skill sets. The guidance on White Magneto is why he's so high. The fact that he can just put a passive stun on put passive stuns on opponents who might purify it. Somebody like a Kingpin, as we saw in the last video, or a lot of skill champs, a Crossbones, a Tuma in the most recent event quest. He was really, really useful. The fact that he hardly takes any bleed damage. Obviously, the same with Red Magneto, the metal. If he goes into a metal, he basically no longer has class disadvantage, or he can get an advantage if they're not a tech champ. I just think he can also help you while going through unstoppables and things like that. I just think he's a really, really handy champ to have on sort of in your deck, and while questing with, like I said, with the guidance and the passive stun, he's just really, really helpful. And I think that's why, that guidance, that pre-fight does hold a lot of weight in my opinion. I think it's really, really good. One of the best pre-fights in the game. So he does make it into the 7th spot. Number 6 is Bishop. I feel like Bishop has sort of got better and better as the game's gone on. Like most recently with Battlegrounds, the fact that sometimes his SP2 is unblockable. The Incinerates, unless you're immune, he just builds those up and they can do a ton of damage. On defense, he's really strong. On offense, he's really good. He's one of the best Korg counters. He, while questing, he can be really strong. Maybe not as strong as some of these other champs ahead of him. While on questing, but on Battlegrounds, he's definitely one of the better defenders and one of the best attackers. Taking out probably the second best defender in the game in Korg means he is going to be really strong and is going to be really useful. The regeneration that he can put on as well means that you can sometimes end a fight with a full yellow bar, which is perfect going into your next fight on the story quest or in the event quests. I don't think there's too much to say about Bishop in that sense, that he is really what you see of him. You build up the prowesses, you throw the SP2. If it crits, it can take out almost anyone. It does so much damage, especially in Battlegrounds. And those Incinerates really can build up. I just think he's a great champ, and there's not really much else more to say about him in my opinion. So this is where we move on to the top 5 champs or mutant champs in the game, in my opinion. So we start off with Magneto Red, which was a really tricky one to put in. I feel like he is slowly losing his effectiveness, and I say that with caution, of course, while I also need to plug my phone in. I say that with caution because I know how strong he can be, even on 6.4.5. Someone recommended that I use him. Questing, he's a god. He's so good. However, he's just pretty boring to play with. He's got a relatively boring rotation. It's not that fun. I think if he was a bit more fun to play, more people would love him. The build up of the prowesses on that before going into your SP3 is massive. The amount of damage you can do, the bleeds that come out of that. He is a really, really good champ. Do not get me wrong. He's as the same with the skill class. These top 5 are interchangeable. If you rank him up over you ranking someone like Apocalypse, you're going to have no one's going to bat an eye. Everyone thinks he's a great champ. Here's the fact that, as we went through the last one, when fighting metal champs, they basically can't regenerate. They have no ability accuracy. Unstoppables are counteracted. He can't be auto blocked or miss. He's good for Penny Parker in that sense. Then if they're also metal, going into tech, he is one of the only champs in the game who can take a class disadvantage and switch it and make it his advantage, which is massive, especially if you're going in and your boss is a tech boss and you've only got Magneto left alive in your story quest. You can take him in, which is different to any of the other mutants other than Magneto White on this list. I just think he's a really, really strong champ. However, he's not in Battlegrounds defense, he's not that useful. The same in offense, he could do a lot of damage, but it takes a little bit more time, sort of than not the time that you absolutely want, which is why he's not maybe as high on this list as he could be. And then I just think, he is a really strong champ, really, really good champ. However, he just doesn't quite break that top 4, top 3 for me. Someone who does, the next champ I'm sort of torn. So I've pre-listed these, but made up a list, and I'm reading it, and I'm not sure who to go with. Originally, I had Omega Red at 4 and Apocalypse at 3. I think I'm going to stick with that. So, and I'll explain why now. Omega Red is, I recently did the Abyss Crystal, the Banquet Abyss Crystal. I did a Mutant. As you can see, I got 6-star Kitty Pryde. However, if Omega Red had popped up, he would have been the champ I'd taken over anyone else. I have him as a 4-star. He helped me massively in sort of getting to uncollected. The lethal dose at Sig 200 is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I think in this game, the fact that you can just be near someone, you let off these... Well, you just basically let off a lethal dose. As soon as they're near you, and if they've got 10, their health just starts to slowly go down. And it's not even slow, actually. It's massive. The fact he's also immune to poison and 90%, he's 90% bleed immune. The degeneration he does on his heavy attacks, the lifesteal and the regeneration he gets from lifesteal and his SP1, the SP2. If you take super suicides friendly, if you take him in, he gets that death field from the bleed. I just think he's such an amazing champ. I absolutely love him, and I do really wish I got him have him as a 6-star, and I got him in that Abyss Crystal, but I don't even have him as a 5-star either, so I can't even take him up. But if I did, I would absolutely do it. I love Omega Red. He's probably my favourite champ in the whole game at Sig 200. I love him. It's probably why he's so high on this list. He probably could have gone to number 3 if he just didn't need that Sig 200. That's what he arguably would be my number 1 champ if he didn't need that Sig 200, but unfortunately, the damage that he's able to do and his immunities are massive while questing is so good, but he just doesn't quite make it into the top 3, because I think the top 3 are really, really strong. In at number 3, I've gone with Apocalypse. As I said, it was a tear up between Omega Red and Apocalypse. I think Omega Red is massive in Battlegrounds. He can do some damage if the opponent stays near him, but on an attack, he can absolutely shred their opponents, being bleed and poison immune, which is where Apocalypse sort of, his usefulness dwindles. He, as a questing champ, a story quest champ, massive. It's why he's number 3. The fact that he can make anyone a horseman, Cable especially. If you have a Cable horseman, Cable becomes one of the best mutants in the game. He just does. So strong. And, however, in Battlegrounds, Apocalypse is very slow. He's not a very good defender. If you get tech champs, they can really take him out really quickly. He is not a great attacker because it takes a while for you to build up sort of his damage, especially the higher up you get, and obviously that takes more time. However, on questing, you take a mutant with him, a Kitty Pryde, a Cable, as I said, Archangel, he's insane. He's one of the strongest champs in the game for questing, one of the best questers. However, as I said at the beginning of this video, I have had to take in into equation the fact that he has also got to be really useful in these new competitive game modes like War, like Battlegrounds, which I just think he loses a little bit of usefulness. And that doesn't mean that he's a bad champ or anything. If you're just doing story quests and you're on like Act 5, take him in, rank him up, and you'll smash through it. He'll be so useful. But just for the current area of the game where I'm at, and where most big YouTubers are at, and a lot of people sort of prioritising Battlegrounds, he just doesn't cut the top two for me. And it's nothing on him. I just think maybe he'll eventually find the Everest content or something like that, the Abyss of Legends, where he can take in Strife or he can take in Cable, and he'll just be really popular again, and he probably could even go to number 2 on this list in 6 months' time. But yeah, for me, he just doesn't hit the top 2, and that's because in second place we've got Archangel. When I first joined the game again, which was only about a year ago, I saw Archangel and I thought he's quite an old champ, obviously, as everyone knows. And I just thought, maybe he's not as good as I thought he was once. But after seeing him in people have him, the neurotoxin damage is insane. If somebody has suicides, they're fucked, or they're done. They're just, excuse my language, they're done. That you put the neurotoxin in, it absolutely shreds them. The poison combined with the bleed can do so much damage. It can turn off so many things that you wouldn't expect. That he can counter so many nodes. He's also, him himself is not poison or bleed immune, but that doesn't necessarily matter. He can shred through opponents. He is the mutant Human Torch almost. Like, if you put in a skill champ, or any champ really, a Sasquatch, biggest health pool in the game, shredded with Archangel. He's just so strong, and no one is immune to those neurotoxins unless they're immune to bleed or poison. Obviously, if you take him in against a tech champ who's dual immune or immune to bleed and poisons, he's not as useful. However, more and more champs are bringing into the game things like Rupture, Shock. So new champs have to be Shock or Rupture immune, or maybe they're just bleed immune or whatever. So he always will have a use, and he'll actually become more, for a 2017 champ, he being in the top 2 of his class is massive, and I think shows you how good he really is. But going into number 1 is, of course, in my opinion, one of the top 3 champs in the game. I won't tell you where I think she is. That will spoil the last video, but is Kitty Pryde. I just think if you know how to play her, which by all means, I don't know that for sure yet. But if you know how to play her, and like someone like Legacy, she just, you can take her into a fight and that she has no right in beating, no right in combating a node. The fact that she can, while phase, she takes no damage. So, degenerations from Bane or from nodes where they can only throw their SP3. If you're phasing, you take no damage from their SP3. Like, just there's so many fights and areas in the game, questing, Alliance War, Battlegrounds. She's a relatively good defender, unless you've got a Nimrod or a Mega Sentinel. She's a really good attacker. She can take out anyone. For Eternity of Pain, she just shreds through most of those. You could just have Kitty Pryde, and she could, if you were a really, really good Kitty Pryde player, you could just smash her through. And not only that, but she also has synergies. The best synergy, in my opinion, or best Trinity synergy, the one with Ghost. Incredible. And, and then, but not only that, she also has the Tigra one. And them as a 3, arguably top 3 Mystic champ, best tech champ, and the best mutant champ. You can't go wrong with those. They just do, that synergy is just massive, and being unblockable while above 10 prowesses with the Tigra one is just massive. She can also be immune to reverse controls, so if you have an Emma Frost, you take her into the sort of the Grandmaster fight and Kitty just smashes it. she's just one of the best champs in the game, and there's really not much I can say about her. Just really, really good, and I think, yeah, she is in a tier of her own. She is the number one mutant champ to me. If you know how to play her, if you're good at playing her, no one comes close to her. So, yeah, she's my number one. That's the mutant class. That's the top 10. Let me know what you guys think of this video. Have you enjoyed it? If you have, please leave a like. If you've disagreed with some of the rankings, let me know in the comments. We'll have a little discussion about it. That would be, that's good fun. I'd really enjoy that. So, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you tomorrow in the Cosmic one. Have a good Christmas Eve. See you later.